guys, it's Caden. Welcome to another Autism Digest interview, where today we have a really amazing guest. She's coming to us from Venice, Italy, I believe. She's in town for a film festival with her film she actually helped to coach. She's an acting coach, the founder of the Miracle Project, which helps neurodiverse actors and creators be given the platform to showcase their works. She was subject of the award-winning HBO documentary, Autism, the musical. She is Elaine Hall. Thanks for coming on, Elaine.
Oh, Caden, thank you so much. And thanks for that lovely introduction. Yeah, great to be here. Great to be here with you.
Of course, it's great to have you. Now,
Thank you.
my first question for you is, for those that may not know the name Elaine Hall, do you mind telling us your story in your own words?
Yes, I would love to. I adopted my son from and I learned that he was diagnosed with autism at age 2, and I found that that traditional behavioral therapies did not work for him. And I'm a creative, I'm a movement theater person. So I thought, let's use creativity to join with him. And that's what I did. I used music, movement, creativity, and I joined his autistic world. Everybody else was trying to get me to push him into a neurotypical world, and it didn't feel right for me. It didn't feel right for him. So I really joined his world, and we would flap around the room together and be birds. We would be creative together. And from that, he chose to enter more and more of the neurotypical world, but still on his terms. From that, I'd been working in the TV and film business as an acting coach for many, many years. And but when my son came to me, I didn't want to go back into that field at that time. So I created a theater program using the same methods that had brought me closer to my son. So with lots of other children, I trained creative people how to understand autism and to enter into and allow and accept and cherish and be curious about the autistic world. From that became, as you said, we create and write original musicals, and that became the subject of the HBO documentary Autism, the musical. So that's kind of my basic story. I've now returned back into the film business, but now with my students from the Miracle Project, my neurodivergent students, and coaching them. Many of my students have gone on to professional careers in TV and film. And then I'm also brought on to films to be to assure authentic representation and access and storytelling. And we're now writing our own projects that are in development, pre-development for TV and film. So that's my story.
And it's an amazing one at that. I actually did a similar program to yours when I was 11 years old, living in Tennessee. It was called Sense Theater. The concept was through Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. They brought on myself, an autistic individual, and several other autistic students to play small parts in a play they were producing. It was a play about a girl who has to choose a hat that fits herself, her personality specifically. And the role that we played about was the role of said hats. We had our own speaking lines and musical bits and everything. And we were able to work together to create the concept, create our characters. And it was a very enjoyable experience. All right, my next question for you is, how surreal was it to be the subject of such a major documentary as Autism, the musical, and be put in front of a wider audience? HBO has millions of viewers and subscribers. So what was that experience like for you?
Well, definitely, Kate, and as you said, surreal. And just to comment, I've heard of Sense Theater at Vanderbilt, and what a wonderful program. And look how your experience as an 11-year old has brought you to this career, as a reporter. So I think that's exciting for me to see how theater at a young age for neurotypical, neurodivergent, autistic, how it benefits all. So surreal is a word. I mean, I had been used to being behind the camera. I worked, in TV and film. And so for me to be front and center was at first quite overwhelming. And where people were recognizing me, and then my son on the street. But my son loved it immediately. I'm neurodivergent myself, and so it was a bit overwhelming for people coming up to me, and so what I had to realize was that I'm here to be of service. I'm here. My work it's not about me. It's about being able to bring out the best in myself and in others. And that if that made me a public figure, and now I've spoken all over the world, if that's my service, and that's my opportunity to educate those who don't understand that how extraordinary autistic neurodivergent individuals are, and to cherish their soul and who they are and who we are, and to and so HBO gave me that opportunity, gave me that platform. So it started out overwhelming and then merged into this is my service of being able to come out and share what I've learned about appreciation and acceptance and curiosity, and not fixing, changing, manipulating, controlling other people, but allowing ourselves to be present with others and give each other the respect that we all desire and need.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. I like what you said about how it's your service. It was definitely overwhelming for me at first when I started doing this, reaching out to people, many of which I've grown up listening to, who were watching on television. It honestly still is, because in a way, there's a sense of professionalism in that aspect. You grow up on certain figures and celebrities and the like. But I find that the more I do this or anything related to communications, the more I gain confidence, because I'm here to serve, same way you're here to serve with your organization. My next question for you is, as you said, you're neurodivergent. How does neurodiversity help you when you coach actors?
Well, I'll step back one. I've been masking my whole life. And here I am, in a career with autism, and why being in an autism community, neurodivergent community, is my happy place. So I didn't know that I was also on the spectrum. I have some very dear friends, Dr. Stephen Shore, who I'm sure you know, who right when we met would tell me that I'm, neurodivergent. I think once that umbrella term came out, that it was much easier, because women represent differently. And so for me, I was working on the TV series As We See It. Have you all seen the series As We See It?
I might have heard of it.
Watch it. I want to tell everybody to watch it. It was one of the best series on television. It portrayed 3 autistic actors portraying 3 autistic characters. It was real, beautiful. It's on a streaming network, and just Google it, find it. So I was working on that. I started out in pre-production, and I worked with all the directors and creator and departments, and became very close friends with the actors. And my ability, and that's where I really stopped masking, because I was in in the environment and in a place I related so much to, especially Sue Ann Pien, who's an actress and director. And what helps me, I think, because I understand so completely sensory sensitivities, the loud bell that goes off when a scene is done to tell everyone, when the scene begins to tell everybody to be quiet, we replace that, with just people telling each other to be quiet rather than this loud, overwhelming bell. I can sense the way that lighting can transferring from a really bright outside into a completely dark studio, because since I experience it myself, I'm the liaison and I can share with directors and producers what's needed by those who have sensory sensitivities. I'm also able to, I completely understand what it's like to just want to be left alone. and when I feel like, socializing, and when my actors feel like socializing, and that it has nothing at all to do with being rude. And also knowing that one time I got a call from a production company saying, "Do you think an autistic actor could be on set all day long?" And I was able to say, look, an autistic actor, a neurodivergent actor, it's much easier to be on set all day long if this is something that they enjoy doing than being in the neurotypical world. Because when you're on set, it's predictable. We know everybody's job. We know what our job is. And there's an atmosphere that is understood. Not only that, is for creative people, being on set all day, again, it's our happy place. Much easier to be on set for 12 to 13 hours and have to deal in the regular world for 12 to 13 hours. So my own neurodivergence allows me that inner perspective so that I can change the myth. And that's really one of my personal goals, is to change the way the media portrays autism, neurodivergence, and also to counter those archaic myths about who people are and what they can and cannot do.
That's a really amazing answer. I absolutely agree that sometimes it is better to be on a movie set than in the real world. But I will also add that sometimes, in a way, movie sets can be overwhelming. A bit of a story for you. I went to college in person at Kent State University in my sophomore year, and one of the things I did just for fun was I did a bit of a student short film. I was an extra in that. It was a spy movie. I played the role of a henchman, and I was trying to do a little bit of an improv thing. And you weren't supposed to speak as an extra, so I tried to do a subtle laugh at the end after I got into position. But the director would honestly get on me about that. At some point, things got so tense, I ended up melting down over it. I almost wanted to quit the movie. It was the last day of shooting on that particular day. They took a 5-minute break for me to calm down, which I deeply admire him for, and it ended up being an enjoyable experience for me again. So I really like what you said about being empathetic towards people's situations and making sure neurodiversity is portrayed properly in film and television, and adding those accommodations to the set. So I definitely can relate to what you're saying. My next question for you is, what's your advice to anyone, neurodivergent or not, that wants to be an actor or acting coach?
Well, first of all, just to piggyback on what you explained, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and I'm also encouraged that the director gave you the time to create such a positive experience. And that's why I'm an access coordinator and access and creative coach. And that's why people like me are on set to also ensure that background actors are seen and heard. And so that's exactly why I get hired, so that the director understands what's going on and and bravo to you to finishing it up. So I want to say that, just say that. In terms of what advice would I give, hone your craft, hone your craft, study theater, study movement. There's again a myth that, you know, sometimes those, when we have classes at the Miracle Project for not multimodality non-speakers who type their lyrics to songs. We create music videos, and a lot of the students, when they first come to us, they have, you know, motor planning and sequencing difficulties. So we start with just, you know, slowly raising one's hands, you know, to be able to coordinate the brain and the body, because sometimes, you know, as we know, autism neurodivergence can also be a motor planning and sequencing challenge. So movement, and always be in an environment when you're learning that's positive and supportive. At the Miracle Project, all of our classes, our teachers have been trained, and I have a textbook. It's called 7 Keys to Unlock Autism, but I have a method. My methodology is the 7 keys. And it's not about changing or fixing the person with autism. I mean, these are the things my son taught me. It's really about how do we show up in the presence of anyone, as you mentioned, neurotypical, neurodivergent. And we show up with a sense of understanding, compassion, and curiosity. So I want to share with your audience that if you're ever in a class where you're being judged or put down or ashamed or embarrassed, get out of that class, run, because that does not have to be. And a lot of neurotypical young people will enroll in acting classes where the director, that the teacher or coach is there to open you up and bring you down. You know, that's not a good place for the psyche. It's not a good place for anyone. So you can learn, but learn your craft. So many people are like, you know, well, there's so many autistic people on TV now, I want to be there. Well, study, because you want to be the best you can possibly be when you are in front of a camera. When you get your break, you want to be able, and I do a lot of private coaching for people, preparing them for auditions, preparing them for roles. The Miracle Project has a class called I Can Do That, which beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes online on Zoom. So you can learn all about the entertainment business. You can learn, you know, so many of the different things that I'm sharing. If there isn't something in your hometown, or Caden, like what you said, you know, the sense theater. So theaters that are understanding, and we have all of our classes are both neurodivergent and neurotypical. So we are truly neurodiverse. It's not like this is a class for disabled people. No, we don't do that, because everyone learns from each other. And I encourage you, study, learn, do exactly what you did, Kate, and get in student films, practice, do community theater. You know, sometimes, you know, in neurotypical theater, they'll put the autistic or neurodivergent person in like a small role. Well, then create your own theater and make sure that you've got some big roles so that you can do your best. And you know, the Miracle Project is open to everyone. We have people come from all over the country for our summer camp and theater and film camp. So that's another great way. And learn your craft, practice in front of a television, practice in front of a mirror, read scripts, look on TV, look in film, and say, I could do that. That's how we came up with the idea for the class, calling it I Can Do That.
That's a really amazing answer, Elaine. And thank you so much I'm glad my story felt encouraging to you. I will add, if we can get services like yours to the universities that work on student films, to be fair, this was a student film, so they didn't have much of a budget yet for big production, and they technically had a class deadline because those assignments were graded. And so, looking back at it, the tension between me and the director was understandable, extremely understandable. But I think if schools can provide acting coaches or services like yours to universities that specialize in film or television or making student films, we would probably never have those types of problems again. Because a lot of college students are neurodiverse. They get involved in those films too. It can definitely be overwhelming for them. So
Yes.
I think what we need are your services in colleges all across the country. My last question for you is, before we wrap up, you probably can't say much about the projects you're working on, but what does the future hold for you?
Well, the future is bright, and thank you, Kaden. I do have the Miracle Project. We had it at Brown University, and there's different universities around the country that have brought me in for trainings. I've worked at UCLA, USC, given presentations at NYU. So I agree that, and I'm available to do trainings and workshops in universities. So I agree with you 100% that that is needed. And so the future is bright. I have I train. I've been all over the world doing the Seven Keys. My memoir, Now I See the Moon, is being looked at to develop into a limited series. And so everyone, go read the book, because that'll up the what is it, the whatever the words are. There are things in it that are dated, because I wrote it before I knew I was neurodivergent. So I wrote it over 10 years ago, and um, but there, we're in development for that. We're in development for a pre-development for another TV series that's loosely based on the Miracle Project. I speak in conferences all over the world, so I'm available as a speaker. And as you mentioned, I'm going to be in. I was invited to the Venice Film Festival in Italy for the premiere of the movie Bugonia, and I'm not allowed to say anything more than that, because it's going to premiere on next Thursday. But when it's out, it comes out Halloween weekend. So you'll know that you heard about it first here, and on the Autism Digest interview, you heard about the movie Begonia. So lots of wonderful things, and hopefully I'll get to meet you all online, and follow us at the Miracle Project. It's themiracleproject.org.
All of that sounds great, and we'll be sure to look out for Begonia on Halloween. Anyways, that's going to do it for this interview, guys. Thank you so much to Elaine for coming on and sharing her amazing story. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Autism Digest channel. Check out our August issue that just came out by going to autismdigest.com. And stay tuned for the audio file of this to be posted on our Spotify. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.